What's up, everybody? Rob Goodwin here. RobGoodwin.com, the home of ketogenic bodybuilding, and it's just been a while since I've given you an update. I've been kind of flying under the radar lately, busy on tons of projects, working with clients, working in the gym, focusing on my own training and lots of upcoming future projects to keep you guys even more informed and educated on the process. So like I said, it's been a couple weeks. So I just want to get you caught up. I don't have any agenda today other than just to tell you what's going on and what the fall season holds. We're coming up on September the 1st, and that means we're going into one of my favorite times of year, or if not definitely my favorite time of year, the fall season. Cooler temperatures. We're in that point in training where it's what we call hoodies, beards, and barbells, where it's just time to go hard in the gym, pushing a lot of food. The calories are up even though they're clean, and every week I'm making an adjustment to cleaner calories to kind of clean up the sloppiness a little bit with some of the cheats that happened post-competition that I earned. But those are going away, and now it's back to big calories, lots of eating, still eating every 2 to 3 hours to maintain that muscle protein synthesis, that nitrogen balance, and to always create an anabolic environment to maintain muscularity and possibly even fill in some weak spots on body parts and build some muscle going into this 2021 fall winter hardcore training season. So what does that look like? Well, number one, not really rocket science, because if you paid any attention, you know that the strategy is not that terribly difficult. It's the follow through and the application, the consistency where people fall short, and it's the reason they don't get the results that they're looking for. So consistency of effort. And it's hard for everyone, including me. That's why I have workout partners. That's why many of you have a coach or a workout partner or whatever to hold you accountable. I know that at 12 o'clock when the guys walk in the gym, it's go time. And sure, there are days where I'm swamped with work, I'm behind on things, and there would be days, I'll admit, where I would say, screw it, I'm gonna skip today, I'll make it up, whatever, make all the bullshit excuses. But you just have to suck it up, and you gotta do it, because once you get that first set in, you're glad you're back in that environment, the endorphins are flowing. It's go time, and you're glad you're doing it, and you have this great workout, and it just makes everything go better throughout the day. And it's that consistency of effort that brings the best results. Inconsistency brings lackluster results. Super consistency brings the best results and the most optimal results. So, and that's consistency with everything you do. Consistency with your eating. I mean, I eat every 2 to 3 hours, no matter what. Beginning at wake up, I'll have a protein shake, maybe with some MCT oil in it right now, the C8 variety. Nearly every morning at either 5:30, 6 a.m. That's how I start my day, by saturating my body with amino acids to create that environment. It's go time at that point, and then every 2 to 3 hours after that, I'm consuming some clean calories to keep my body fueled and keep everything working towards the goal of maintaining that lean muscularity and giving myself the energy that I need to pump through my day. So this time of the year, it is mass gain phase season. So like I said, the calories are high. How do I do that? Well, first you determine your total daily energy expenditure, your TDEE. There are tons of online TDEE calculators out there, so I would recommend starting with one of those. If you're working with a coach, he or she can determine that for you using a calculation based on some information that you give him or her. And then once we determine the TDEE, then if you're going into a mass gain cycle, as I am now, then you want to take that caloric ceiling into a surplus slightly over that TDEE of 300 to 500 calories is generally where I go, and then I'll make adjustments depending on the individual. If you've got one of these hyper responders that put on muscle easy, sometimes I take it higher. If you're not one of those, we want to make sure we strike that balance between putting on as much lean muscle as we can, but not adding too much body fat. We don't want to turn it into some dirty bulk, okay? So you make that determination first, and then once I know what my caloric ceiling is, I divide that up into my ketogenic bodybuilding hybrid approach, which means high protein, moderate fat, and low carbs. So my fats will come up in the mass gain phase portion of my prep. So I'll be taking in whole eggs, fattier cuts of meat, lots of red meat, steak, a mixture of white and dark poultry, salmon. I'll even throw in some avocado and all my healthy oils, macadamia nut oil, avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, C8 MCT oil. So that's where I'm going to get most of my fats. Most of my fats come from the animal food source fats. They're not coming from a lot of weird exogenous fats. I don't bring in a lot of fats specifically from like dairy and just standalone fats. I don't do a lot of that. The only one that I would say that I do is I might do 2 tablespoons of almond butter a day. But other than that, all my fats are coming from typically animal sources or the aforementioned healthy oils and things of that nature. So these are mass building foods. These are healthy foods, hormonal balance foods, and they make me feel great when I'm consuming them. I always get this bizarro, people gravitate towards me and I get a lot of attention because I'm the keto bodybuilding guy that talks a lot about carbohydrates. And we talked about that on the podcast recently. There's a lot of confusion there because even though I advocate using carbohydrates around your workouts, for energy, to be able to go through a crushing workout, because that's what carbohydrates are. There's just a high octane fuel source. I take in just enough to fuel me through that workout, then they're gone, and then I resume my normal ketogenic hybrid nutrition protocol. And then I'll have a weekly refeed of usually somewhere in the 400 to 500 grams range, bring the fats down a little bit, keep the protein up, and then I refeed those glycogen stores, and it really sets the tone for the following week. But if you look at my normal week, like Monday through Saturday, for instance, carbohydrate is still only making up about 5 to 6% of my total caloric intake. So I'm still extremely low carb, and the bulk of what I'm eating still is healthy proteins, healthy fats, just in great quantities, divided up frequently throughout the day, as we talked about, every 2 to 3 hours. So I'm trying to always create an anabolic environment, and food is anabolic. Lifting is anabolic. It's creating the stimulus to become anabolic, and sleep is anabolic. So if, those of you out there are saying, I'm doing all these things and nothing's happening. Well, first of all, are you tracking your food? Well, I don't track. I know me. I know my body. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Okay, you have to track if you want the best results. If you just refuse to track, so be it. You're kind of pissing in the wind, but at the very minimum, track for a month. That will kind of, you'll see the foods you eat, you'll track it, and you'll definitely get a better understanding of what reaching those macros goals looks like, in real time relative to your tracking. Because most people, when they track for the first time, are usually stunned at how many grams of this or grams of that, or sort of, hiding and lying around and things that they never really knew. They don't really realize how little things can add up. A great example of that is nuts. Macadamia nuts, almonds, walnuts, things of that nature. I love, eating nuts. You eat a handful, but the thing about nuts is they do have a carb content, and they're one of those foods that if you're not careful, you can just kind of go off into the weeds and just keep eating those damn things. I know me. If I have this, big ass thing of macadamia nuts sitting on my desk while I'm at work for 8 hours, and I have that first handful, odds are that damn jar is going to be gone by the time I leave that day. So I don't put myself in that position by putting a big ass can of macadamia nuts on my desk. So I wouldn't call it a luxury, because my makeshift break room kitchen here is not the most, fancy. But I do have the opportunity to quickly prepare fast, under 10-minute meals here at the gym per meal, and then I'll meal prep a few others, or I'll bring in some leftovers from the following day. But I'll stick to that plan. And when I'm really trying to be super strict, as I get more towards a cut, usually about 24 weeks out, when I start to taper down, I will actually pre-plan my meals in my Fitness Pal. I'll write out exactly what I'm going to eat for the following day. and then I have a template to follow. So I come into, the next day, MyFitnessPal tells me what I'm going to eat at roughly what time, and then I'll just follow that template, and there's really no way to cheat at that point. If you're adding anything in that's not on that list, well, you're fucking that shit up now, okay? So, and too many of those little screw-ups adds up into the big picture by the end of the week, and then you're wondering why you're not dropping body fat at the pace you wanted to. In terms of muscle gain, inconsistency with workouts, not getting enough sleep, not supplying your body with the raw materials that it needs to grow and thrive in that anabolic environment, these things are huge limiters. Often when guys or women say, I'm doing everything you told me to do and nothing's happening, usually we find out that there's something in there that they really weren't doing what they should be doing, and we sort of uncover that because, sometimes it's tough to admit that, hey, this is on me and I'm making a huge mistake here, because if you're in a caloric deficit and your hormonal, balance is on point to a degree, and you're, eating as directed, and you're training with the utmost intensity in the gym, consistent 4 or 5 days a week, hypertrophy-driven workouts, highly intense, then, and you're getting adequate recovery to let all of that muscle heal and grow back from the stimulus of the workout itself, you will change. Now, the rate of change is different for everybody. Like I said, we have the hyper responders that may, respond very quickly, and we have people that it may take more time. Most people are not hyper responders. There's not that many genetic outliers out there in my experience. And what drives me crazy is when somebody starts doing my programming or following some of my things that I do or that I recommend, I'll get people messaging me in 30 days saying, hey, why do I not look like Mr. Olympia? I'm like, because dude, I tell everybody, and I've said this in previous videos and I've said this on the podcast, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're already shredded, if you're already huge, whatever the case may be, whatever the goal is, give yourself a year. Give yourself a year. I promise you, first of all, you got to enjoy that process of working through those phases through that year. You got to enjoy being in the gym. That's something you have to enjoy to do. And you go long enough and you'll get more addicted to that process, I promise you. Because consistency, brings that. It makes real physiological changes and real mental changes. And you will start to become accustomed to doing these things. It'll become a conditioned habit. And there's proof of this. So the consistency in the gym, the consistency with your sleep. So when people say, oh, I'm not getting results, one of usually 3 or 4 things is occurring. One, they say they're intense in the gym, but they're not. I'll even tell clients, hey, film a workout. Set up a freaking phone or whatever on a tripod or whatever. Film that workout. Let me see your intensity. Let me see your definition of pushing a set to failure. And then we'll evaluate the process then. I'll look at calendars all the time and see tons of skipped workouts. And those add up over time. I'll look at over the course of 2 months that I work with a client, skip. And although they may be doing 80 to 85% of their workouts, trust me, those skipped workouts, that accrues over time, and it takes, a lot off of your results. You got to be consistent with your training and hit all those body parts. I'll determine that they're not tracking, they're guessing. A lot of people will track in the first few weeks, then they'll get lazy, and then they'll start guessing. Oftentimes they'll lie and say, yeah, I'm tracking, when they're really not, because they think, oh, because I tracked for a month, I know exactly what I'm doing. No, if you want the most optimal results, you need to track all the time. We're talking about building extreme physiques here. All right, that's what we're talking about here. This is what we do. If you want to take yourself to your greatest genetic potential, you work harder than everybody else. You're the freaking freak in the room. All right, we've talked about that. What I do is not for everybody. What I coach may not be for everybody. Our ideology may not be for everybody. We're ketogenic bodybuilding. We're bodybuilding style based, even though I've got 70-year-olds doing this, and anybody can do it. And there's a difference between bodybuilding and competitive bodybuilding. Not everybody's going to get on stage. In fact, only about 5% of my clients ever do. But it's about still, if you want to be your absolute genetic best, you've got to be consistent in all the phases. So tracking those meals, hitting those macros on a very consistent basis, 90% of the time, there's a 90-10 rule, I think, if you want to be your best. Hitting those workouts consistently, making those gym sessions count, keeping the intensity ridiculous, you got to get there. And then sleep, 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 sleep. Sleep is anabolic. You know, if your 6 hours that you're getting is not doing it, push for 7. If that means you got to shut off the TV or the computer or the tablet a little earlier one night, then do that and start making sure that you get plenty of sleep and rest. Sleep is when the magic happens. Sleep is when the body repairs itself. Sleep is when you build muscle. Sleep is when you burn the most fat. If you're not sleeping, it's not going to work optimally. Period. And then the other component is supplementation and pharmaceuticals. What do I mean by that? You may be needing some extra supplementation to help aid the process. This is why I do, my animal packs and my omega formulations. I do vitamin D, K2, zinc. I'm using animal pack stack currently. And animal pack test currently during my gain phase. Those things make a huge difference. I'm taking my creatine every day, but then in the other realm is pharmaceuticals. There are certain prescription drugs out there that can really get in the way of your progress. They can unbalance hormones. There are a myriad of pharmaceuticals out there, prescription drugs that your doctor may be giving you that in the fine print will even tell you right in your face, may make it difficult to lose weight, may cause weight gain or fluctuations in weight, or create this shitstorm in the body to where building muscle and burning fat gets quelled to quite a degree because of those pharmaceuticals that are in you. And I'm not telling you to take all your pill bottles and flush them down the toilet. What I am saying is you should always be striving to work to where your training and your nutrition and your recovery and your sleep and your reduction of stress are working towards getting you off of those drugs that, except for those few that, maybe your physician has said, hey, because this happened, you're going to be on this for the rest of your life. Fine, but there are a lot of other medications out there that we've become reliant on that can really, really, really make it difficult to push your body to that extreme level. And, my goal with my clients is, hey, let's take a year, put you in the best possible environment to reach your greatest genetic potential, and in the process let's kick some of those prescription drugs and get you off some of that stuff. You'll feel better. Let's get the body working naturally for itself again, and you're going to save some money on top of that because hey, food's expensive, especially now. So but anyway, so these are the limiting factors. And the last thing I'm going to say, and I said it in a YouTube video a while back, for God's sake, some of you, most of you, well, a whole lot of you, many of you, most of you, okay, nearly every one of you should take your freaking scale and destroy it, okay? Now, I know there are going to be people out there saying, well, it shows progress, even if, no. It's a mental thing. I know the culture we live in. I've worked with thousands of people. The overwhelming majority of them get obsessed with the scale. It becomes a mental block. It becomes a handicap that limits you because it gets your head all screwed up. Because you'll get on the damn scale and it may show that you've lost no weight. That's weight. And this is about composition. This is about muscle and fat. Once again, I'm going to give you my second grade math problem, but you got to understand. Number one, scales are arbitrary and bullshit, okay? If you're going to weigh, if you absolutely must weigh on a scale, do it a maximum of once a week. And then I say pick one day and do it on that same day every time you do it. So for me, I'll say I'm going to do it on Friday morning, right when I roll out of bed, right after I've gone to the bathroom. So I'm going to have that same environment, physiological environment every time that I get on that scale on those Friday mornings. Me personally, up until I'm in, maybe 8 weeks out from a competition, I may weigh once a month, maybe, just out of morbid curiosity, because I know it's not an indicator of my success. How you look in the mirror, pictures, photographs, circumference measurements, measuring your body, these are the true indicators. Because back to the math problem, if you started training hard and you're dieting right, let's say you put on 2 pounds of lean, sexy, toned, badass muscle. We all want that. We want every ounce we can get because it's hard to put that shit on and it's hard to keep it. So we fight for that stuff. So you put on 2 pounds of muscle, yet you've dropped 2 pounds of body fat. You think 2 pounds. If you're holding 2 pounds of fat in your hands, that's a substantial loss. What does the scale say? The net result of 2 pounds of muscle gained, 2 pounds of fat loss is a big fat goose egg. So you're making great progress, stellar, optimum progress. But the scale says big fat 0. So all you're focused on is the 0 loss. Weight loss is not linear. Fat loss is not linear. It's not like, okay, I start dieting and training here and it's just going to arc and just dive bomb in here. Some people react that way. It's extremely rare. I'm going to go ahead and burst your bubble. If you're a woman, it definitely doesn't work that way. It's tougher on women. It takes longer for most women. It staggers because your body's always fighting because it doesn't really want to change. It wants to keep you in balance at all times. It wants to keep you at the lowest level of change possible and create that homeostasis. So once again, you've got to stay off the damn scale, okay? I know it's hard, but there's no telling what you're weighing. When I said it's arbitrary and meaningless, my weight may fluctuate 4 to 5 pounds every single day from when I wake up until when I go to bed. Why is that? How much food do I have in my stomach, my intestines, or in my bowels? That's weight. How much fluid and water do I have in my body? Some of my clients with greater output and certain genetics take in more carbohydrates, and some of my clients take in less carbohydrates around their workouts and on refeeds. Well, the clients that take in more carbohydrate, for every gram of carbohydrate, which converts to glycogen, that you have in your body, the body holds on to more water to support that carbohydrate metabolism. So, you may be holding more water. It's not a bad thing. It's just a natural process, and water is good. So, blood volume. You literally can have changes in blood volume. There's so many changes and fluctuations throughout the day and throughout the week of weight that it's really not accurate. I mean, you're not just weighing body fat. You're weighing organs and tissue and bones and fluid and food and blood and all kinds of stuff. So, stay off the damn scale. Stick to photographs, stick to the mirror, and stick to circumference measurements and how your clothes fit. And that's going to be a greater indicator of how you do. I've had women gain weight and look far better than when they started because they dropped a bunch of body fat, which takes up more volume, and they've gained more lean muscle, which takes up less volume, and they've actually ended up gaining a couple pounds from when they started, but their physique looks so much better because it's a lean muscular physique rather than a skinny fat physique or just a obese or a body holding on to body fat. So there you go. I think I've taken up enough of your time. I didn't intend for this to go this long, but I kind of got off on a rant there. But anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'd appreciate if you hit the subscribe button, thumbs up, and share that sucker because it really helps get those YouTube algorithms swirling and helps the cause. If you're watching this on IGTV, well then thank you very much for your support. So until the next time, this is Coach Rob. Train hard, diet harder, and have a great day.